But first, I want to cross over to Parliament, and what happens that this afternoon is expected to be a vote on whether the election date is to move from August to December. And some of the MPs are busy lobbying to ensure that they get the 2/3 majority that they need to have this passed. And Kennedy Muriithi now joins us from Parliament to give us an idea of the lobbying. Question is, will they make it? Kennedy, what's happening so far, and what is the vibe around there?
Thank you very much, Dan Mwangi, there in studio. And as you rightly said, is that the mover of this bill, that is Chris Wamalwa Kiminini MP, is going to look forward to garnering 2/3, that is 233 members of Parliament, to support this bill, whereby he seeks to move the election date from the second Tuesday of August every 5 years to the third Monday of December. That is, he is trying to make sure that that election date is moved. And the arguments that he's putting across is the fact that people, the examination or the school calendar is going to be tampered with, and also those people who come from Western in August, one of the major things that they do at that particular time is that they circumcise their boys. So it is a debate that has been going on, and he's been trying to look for support. We've seen some members of Parliament support him on television, and they've been saying also, some of them who come from areas where they keep cattle, have been actually saying that when it comes to August, it's also problematic and they are not at home, and when December they are rain, so they are able to even be at home and are able to vote. So it has been a circus and it has been a debate, and we're trying to get to the bottom of this and get to know, is it going to be possible this time round? The Speaker has also been very lenient on him, giving him time to lobby, and this afternoon probably a question will be put. Debate has already gone through, and today it's just a question where members of Parliament will be expected to either stand with him or not stand with him. Whether there will be 233 members of Parliament in that house is a question that we can only wait to see in the afternoon. But right now I'm joined by members of Parliament whom I want to talk to, and one of them is a Mathare member of Parliament who we want to ask, are you supporting this bill?
No, I don't support this bill, and my reasons are as follows. The current date of 8th of August was passed by a referendum. You remember that the 2010 Constitution, after very robust, I think one of the most extensive and expansive process of public participation yet, and having sought the will and the thinking of the people of Kenya, we settled on the 8th of August. My view is that in order to change this, we cannot change it by a parliamentary process in the nature of Chris Wamalwa's constitutional bill. Remember that the Justice on Legal Affairs Committee, even though they say this was endorsed by over 70% of the people they sought, what is the fraction of this 70%? Which counties, which constituencies? What were the number of people in terms of the data that they looked at? I think, secondly, in terms of the constitutional process that we are going through, a piecemeal amendment to the Constitution may be detrimental to us. I think that we should wait. There are a number of amendments to the Constitution, and a referendum is probably going to be in the offing. Why don't we wait and have a discussion where we have a national conversation? Do Kenyans now want to revert back to the December date? Thirdly, when you talk about cultural practices and you talk about date of exams, this cuts both ways. When you have August, by the time we went into the rerun of the presidential election, we were already into the cycle of the people who are going to do the exams as it is right now. So you cannot use cultural practices. There are other people who have counter arguments. December is a date when people are planning their holidays, people are moving around, especially for me, and this is my fourth point, as a member of Parliament coming from Nairobi constituency in Mathare. This is the time when people live in their numbers to go especially to Western Province, in Nyanza and other provinces. To put the election date in December would be to disenfranchise a significant population of our voters in Nairobi constituency who will then not be able to vote. So I do not support it, I do not agree, and I do not think that he will raise the numbers. The Speaker, like you said, has been lenient to him. It is the responsibility of anybody who puts a private member's bill to raise the 2/3 numbers. And on the date when that thing was prioritized or balloted to be on the order paper by the House Business Committee, that is the day the vote should have been taken. So I think already there is a procedural misadventure, I think, if you will. And the second question, you remember, it will have to be ascertained. Do we have 233 members present? If you do not have 233 members, you can't even put the question. So I don't know. I doubt it. He may not. But I think it is a big if, whether he will be able to raise that threshold.
Well, that means that today after going to have an appeal, as we've said on our television station, is that there are those who are actually supporting it and there are those who are not supporting it. The Member of Parliament for Mathare has been able to put forward this case, but before I let him go back to the House, there is a motion that is going on in Parliament right now, and you have sponsored it, and it is with regards to declaring youth unemployment as a national disaster.
Yes.
Where do you come with this?
Yes, I said in my last deliberations when the matter came up last Wednesday, but that one of the things that Wangari Maathai said about trees, she said that everybody has their little thing, and her little thing then she said was trees. My little thing is about youth and youth empowerment and getting youth to have meaningful engagements, meaningful skills acquisition, and meaningful ability to be able to determine their own lives. As a result of this, I have looked at the situation and what we have in terms of the various pieces of legislation. There are all manner of legislations everywhere affecting the youth. We have the Youth Act, we have the Sports Act, where there is a fund that the Ministry of Treasury now wants to take away and put in the consolidated fund. We have the Employment Authorities Act, we have the Social Assistance Act. None is speaking to the other, and the purpose of this motion and the bill which I have in draft form is to try and have one umbrella piece of legislation so that we can have a one-stop place where we can determine on questions of youth. Secondly, we have a proposition in this motion and the bill that is coming to have a 2.5% of the national revenue that is collected every year to be set aside for purposes of going into the youth fund. This youth fund of 2.5% may go into creating sports academies, as was proposed by Mheshimiwa Osotsi in every constituency. We have tertiary institutions like technical training centers where we will be able to train youths in mechanic, in masonry, in carpentry, and at the end of the day, we have start-up kits for them so that they go and start up their workshops and the other places. This is modeled around the grant system rather than the loan system. The loan systems, when you tell my youth from Mathare constituency that they have to come and ask for a loan, you need a 6 months bank statement, you need security. They don't have this. Let us have a model where we can create opportunities and infrastructure, and on an affirmative action basis over a period of 10 years we will be able to achieve this. The reason I want it declared lastly as a national disaster is that anytime we've had anything declared as a national disaster, HIV and AIDS, drought and all this, all government resources and international organizations have rallied their support against it.
Thank you. Just before we go back, we have the chairperson of the Justice and Legal Affairs Committee, that is Mheshimiwa Cheptumo, and we also want to get his view on this bill, and that is the bill that is going to be put a question on later on in the afternoon, and that is the bill by Chris Wamalwa on the election date. And Bwana Mwenyekiti, this matter came to your committee, and what is your feeling as the question is being put today afternoon?
Let me say that the House this afternoon will have a chance to vote on the bill. In support, those who will support and those who will not support. And I think it is important for the Kenyan people to understand this position, that Honorable Wamalwa is within his constitutional right to move Parliament with a view to changing the election date from August to December. It is within his constitutional right. Now, the bill came before my committee, and we went across the country. We had members of my committee listening to the public through the public participation process. They went to Kisumu, they went to Kakamega, they went to Nakuru, went to Eldoret, went to Garissa, Mombasa, Nairobi, Nyeri. You know, we actually were able to go to every part of this country seeking the views of Kenyans pursuant to the provisions of Article 118 on public participation. And I want to confirm to the country that this bill received very wide public participation process. And it is interesting that the bill proposing to change the election date received overwhelming support. In fact, in all the stations, in all the areas where we visited, we got well over 70%
but the
supporting the change of the election date from August to December. And I said earlier, various reasons were cited by Kenyans. And one of them is that this August election date for our elections has a way of disrupting our education system in the country. We have the issue that in August it is a rainy session, raining time. And therefore, most of the Kenyans, especially in the pastoral areas, are unable actually to participate because that time they are, unable to access some of their areas to go and vote. And listening to the Kenyan people as we go around, this bill has overwhelming support. Of course, the question is the ratio of the people who really appeared before the committee, gave their views. But the system of executing public participation is provided for by our constitution. Now, once you place a date for a public participation for Kenyans to appear before a committee, whether my committee or any other committee, to give their views, you don't have control as to the number of people. You cannot force Kenyans to appear, but you make very comprehensive public announcement through the radios, through our administrators, through our counties, through our, so we did what we were supposed to do within the framework of public participation.
But Mheshimiwa, then there is the other thing that is now the most current, and it is the fact that the matter is coming up for vote later in the afternoon.
Yes.
As a committee chairperson, have you whipped your members to come and support this, coming from the background that you went all over the country and it gained support? And two, are you helping Chris Wamalwa gain that support as they come to vote and get the 233 members?
I am the one who actually seconded this motion after Honorable Wamalwa moved the bill in the second reading. I seconded the bill, and for close to, I think, 1 week or so, Parliament has had a chance to debate this bill. So every member of this House is aware that today in the afternoon we are going to vote. It is the business of the mover, the sponsor of that bill, and the Speaker himself yesterday actually was able to make a communication that now these members will have a chance to vote. And I think from where I sit, Honorable Wamalwa has done very, very serious lobbying to members. I also been able to share with members. I think this is an assembly of elected leaders. Anything that we feel is good for the Kenyan people, we should be able to support, because that is the business. If you look at Article 95 and 96 of the Constitution, matters touching of concern to the Kenyan people, we've been given the mandate under the Constitution to address them, to deal with them, those concerns. And I think we should be able as a House, to raise to the occasion and be able to address these issues. And I want to say this, even as I conclude, that there are many, many issues now coming forward touching on the Constitution. And as we don't want to postpone this to deal with other, upcoming constitutional amendments, we cannot deny a member a chance to execute and prosecute this bill just because there are more other bills amending the constitution, as we go by. So I want to say that I wish Wamalwa success as he whips the members, and I hope he will garner the 2/3 majority to be able to have this bill passed and become law.
Thank you very much, Dan. That is the chairperson of the Justice and Legal Affairs Committee, and he's been giving his views, and he believes that they have lobbied enough, and today in the afternoon they'll be able to raise the 233 members required to change the election date from Tuesday in August to the 3rd Monday of December. And it is a matter that we can only wait. Other things that are happening here in Parliament is that we do expect, probably in the next 20 minutes, a press conference from the Central Kenya members of Parliament, and they will be speaking on what President Uhuru Kenyatta said yesterday. But then they will be going deeper into the issues whereby they do believe that the small-scale traders are not being given enough time to participate. It is also a matter that has been seized by the Trade and Industry Committee that will be talking to this matter tomorrow on plenary. As from now, that is what is happening in Bunge, and we'll be able to give you updates as and when we do receive. Right now, it's back to you, Dan, in studio.